All right. So, good morning, Flagler County. This is Danielle Anderson, your host of Lifeline, the radio show connecting you to positivity in our community. And we have Dr. Keen in the studio with us today. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Pretty good. Do you get people that ever ask you how you're doing?
All the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's good. I always wonder, like, because you're always doing all the asking.
Yeah. No. Patients care about their physicians.
That's cool. Very nice. So, Dr. Keen has been in the community before, and now he's returning to us. So, for those of us who haven't had a chance to meet you before, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you discover Palm Coast the first time?
That's a really cool story. So, I was in residency in Jacksonville at University of Florida, and we had gone to the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery or Surgeons annual meeting. It was Dr. Gay and I. He had already accepted a job in Jacksonville, and I was like, "Hey, let's go by the recruiters and see what kind of jobs are available." And at the academy, there's this gigantic room with jobs all across the country, and there's recruiters there. And he and I both like surfing, and so I was like, it'd be cool if we could find a job somewhere together near the beach. And we ran into Ray Jean Gossman, who was a recruiter at the time.
For Advent Health?
For Advent Health. Well, at the time, it was Florida Hospital.
Oh, wow.
Even
back
before,
then. I remember.
even before it's Advent Health. And she's like, well, we have an opening for 2 surgeons in Palm Coast. And we looked, and it was like, well, not far from Jacksonville. We used to go down to St. Augustine all the time as well.
Nice.
And so we went and interviewed, and at the time it was David Otati was the CEO. So we met him, and it was just worked out perfectly. We loved the community and loved the hospital and the people. And so that was back in 2011.
Wow. Was David here that long?
He got here actually, I think, a year before me.
He did.
Yeah, because he was ahead of me in residency.
That is really cool. I didn't realize you guys were like so super tight because he was on the show and he was talking about all his athletic excitement that he's into. So you guys like just go out and do the same stuff on the weekends?
Lots of time surfing and sailing. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you ride bikes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right on.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, it was cool in residency because, we're like, oh, we got a lot of the same interests. Actually, he's the one that got me into surfing. I didn't surf then, but I was like, I always wanted to. So,
where are you from?
I grew up in Pennsylvania,
nice.
Allentown outside of Philly, and then moved to Florida during high school.
That's cool. And so is your family still around here too?
Family in Orlando. So my undergrad was University of Florida.
So that's not too bad, too far away. What, about 45 minutes or an hour?
Yeah, not bad.
Very cool. Yeah, my daughter went to UCF, so she's not that far away either.
Yeah, it's nice. My daughter's getting ready to start at University of Florida in the fall.
Oh, right on. So like carrying on the legacy. Is
yes.
this like second generation or third generation UF?
Second.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's awesome. So what's she studying?
Mechanical engineering.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first major, was mechanical engineering.
So, okay, how did you get into orthopedics then?
Yeah, that's a long story. So it's also kind of interesting. So, I studied mechanical engineering. Like, I like fixing things. I like taking things apart and putting them back together. I always worked on cars and did a lot of woodworking with my father when I was a kid. And he was a mechanical engineer, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to go do that stuff. And so I got my degree in mechanical engineering. And I went to work for a company called Westinghouse. At the time, it was power generation, building power plants. And, it was fun. I liked it. That was in Orlando. And then I took another job in Chicago doing some consulting engineering. And I realized that, it was interesting doing this work, but it wasn't self-gratifying. It wasn't rewarding for me. If I had made a boiler run more efficient and saved the company a couple $1 million, like, it was great for them, but I was like, I don't know if it's what I want to do. So I started doing some soul searching and a lot of reading and researching and discovered physical therapy. Oh. So I went to physical therapy school after that. So I worked as an engineer for like 6 or 7 years, went to physical therapy school, worked as a physical therapist for few years. And at that time, I had made good friends with a couple of guys that were orthopedic surgeons. I didn't know about orthopedic surgery at the time. I mean, I was an engineer, nothing involved with medicine at all. And the orthopedic surgeons I met were super cool guys. Like we'd go rock climbing together and mountain biking together. I got into whitewater kayaking. We'd take trips to North Carolina to the rivers and go paddle them.
Very cool.
And I was like, oh man, maybe that's what I want to do. And so,
was that, or you just wanted to hang out with those guys?
Well, yeah, that was it too, for sure. So it was super fun with them. And at the time, the person I was dating was in med school. And so I got to meet a bunch of med students during that same time in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I was like, so I was covering a football game, and I saw a kid get hurt. I went out in the field and helped him off, and I diagnosed him with an ACL tear. And I was like, oh man, I know how to rehab this, but it'd be really cool to fix it. Whoa. And so one of my buddies, the orthopedic surgeon, was on the sideline with me. He's like, why don't you come watch the surgery? So I was like, heck yeah, I want to come watch. So I went and watched the surgery, and then I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's incredible.
So it was really cool. After that, I was like just super focused on getting into med school. The guys I worked with in physical therapy were super supportive. They let me work 3 12-hour days. The other days I could take some classes, and went to med school.
You say it so calmly, like, oh, I just went to med school. It was, like, that's a big deal, though, I mean, how long did it take to get through that?
Oh, I mean, so, from the time I decided and I was taking some prereqs, that took about a year and a half. And then med school is 4 years, residency is 5 years, and then 1 year of fellowship extra. So it took a while.
But you look so young and then on top of it, you had the whole engineering thing that you did before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. When I was in school, I was like, I don't really want to go to school anymore. I want to work. And my buddies are like, all you've done is go to school.
That's so cool.
So, but yeah, no, it's been great. I really, really enjoyed learning. I really enjoyed, as a physical therapist, helping people. And now I feel like I've kind of combined both careers with engineering and physical therapy, because I get to see the patients, diagnose them, and then fix it. And then that's where the reward for me comes, is getting them back to the activities that they really want to do.
So do you feel like having that extra part of physical therapy knowledge helps you when you're diagnosing them and getting them set up for treatment?
100% yes, because I've treated, as a therapist, a lot of these injuries or things that these patients have going on, and I kind of know the outcome of what's going to happen. So, and I know also the power of physical therapy.
It's important,
Physical
right?
therapy is a powerful tool, and that has also made me a very conservative surgeon.
Oh.
Some patients will come in and you'll look at x-rays and it'll be like, oh, that patient would benefit from a knee replacement, but they haven't really done anything conservative to treat it yet. Well, some people will say, hey, you need surgery, you need a knee replacement. I don't usually do that on the first time I meet a patient. I really like to exhaust all the conservative treatments first, because you'd be surprised on how many years you can put that off sometimes with conservative treatment.
My mom just got her knee done like 2 years ago, and she's 73, I think. Yeah. So she waited a super really long time to get it done.
Yeah.
But now she's like, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It really gets your life back.
So, when we're talking about that kind of stuff, how do you kind of tell a patient? Because sometimes patients can be like, well, I know what I want, and I just want you to do this for me. How do you kind of coax them into that? Let's try some other things first.
Well, I don't really coax them into anything, honestly. I'm really good at explaining the options to the patient. And if they have their mindset and, their pain is significant and they're unable to get through the grocery store or their activities of daily living, well, pretty much at that point, I agree with them. Yeah. They make the decision. I give them the options.
That's cool.
So I'm not trying to talk a patient one way or the other. I just really kind of sit down and figure out what's important to them, what they've tried to treat whatever the pathology that the patient has, and then come up with a solution and a plan that works for them.
So where have you been? You're coming back to Flagler County. Where have you been? Like missing in action, or what's going on?
No, I've been around. I was up at a hospital in St. Augustine. operating there. I was there for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
But I was still seeing patients down here in Palm Coast. We had an office down here.
So what do you love about the area? I mean, because you're staying here.
Well, I've always loved Palm Coast. I've been here for a long time, and my patients are here, and so I feel like I always felt bad when I book them for surgery and they're driving to St. Augustine for surgery. It's for one day because a lot of surgeries outpatients, or it may be for one night and then they come back. And now the patients can have surgery here in Palm Coast at the new hospital on Palm Coast Parkway. So it's really convenient for them. I think the patients are really happy that they don't have to leave Palm Coast.
I'm sure, yeah. And you get to be at the new hospital. Did you get to pick, or did they kind of say, this is where we need you?
No, I got to pick. I mean, we discussed it with the administrators, and they're very supportive. That's one of the things I love about Advent Health is, they have a philosophy of whole person care, treat the whole person. Well, to be honest with you, that not only goes towards the patients, it goes towards the physicians. They want their staff to be happy and engaged, because then, if they're happy and engaged, they're going to take care of the patients.
Even better.
Right.
That's cool. So when you walked in there, I mean, I know we were discussing, it's kind of like a smaller hospital. What are some of the finer points of the equipment that's there for you to work with?
Well, if you look at the equipment at that hospital, I mean, it's brand new. So the operating rooms are state of the art. The electronic health record that Advent uses is the #1 health record in the country.
Nice.
So it makes it super convenient to treat patients. If they've been to other hospitals that use that record, you can look and see their history. Treatments they've had. Sometimes a patient will come in, say they moved to Palm Coast from out of state, and they are on that record. You can see what they've had done. You can see which medicines they're on. Like it's very convenient, and it really adds continuity of care for the patients.
So you don't really have to send out and try to track down their records. It's all right there.
If they're on that particular system, yeah. I mean, it's still, it's not perfect. We still like to hear it from the patients and go over it with them, but it is very helpful.
Man, that's nice. So when you came here, I mean, what were your kind of thoughts to say, I can't wait to come back to Palm Coast? Or was it you're just like, hey, I'm working with Dr. K again, everything's cool? Or tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was a hard decision. Obviously, I've always liked where I've worked.
Yeah.
Like even when I was with Advent the first time around, I mean, I was really happy here. I was happy taking care of patients. Happy with the administration. It was just an opportunity to explore a different system and be in St. Augustine. And so we had a really good supportive staff there as well. When Dr. Gay and I talked about it, we had talked with the administration at Advent. We had really enjoyed our time here before. And part of it was the opportunity to help Advent grow. Advent's growing. They've talked a lot about the St. Johns County market.
It's amazing.
And we know that market really well. They're opening up a freestanding emergency room on 207. Opportunity to see patients there in the future. So I think we picked the winner.
I think you did too.
Honestly. So, if I look at the rest of my career, it's going to be with a good hospital that cares about their patients and their staff and their physicians.
What a good thing to say. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about like the nitty gritty of what you do.
All right.
So we'll be right back.
All right.
So you doing okay? Anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, doing good. For sure. I'm going to have to wear the headphones home so I sound like this. My kids will be like, Dad.
You sound so cool, like on the radio. We have Jay Shear who does coffee chat, and he sounds like this without the headphones on. It's really awesome.
That's amazing.
So give me a shout out, Jay, just so you know.
That's really awesome.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we're back with Dr. Keene here at Advent Health at Palm Coast at the Parkway. So, start from the beginning. What would a patient do if they needed to come see you, or what are some of the things that they would come see you for?
So that's a good question. Orthopedic injuries, orthopedics treat a lot of joint pain, joint issues. At our office, my specialty is hips and knees.
Oh, wow.
I do a lot of knees. Patients have more knee injuries than hip injuries, so it's more common.
Is there a particular age, or could it be any age?
Well, so over 18 for my practice, just because if they need surgery or something like that, 18 is kind of the limit for our practice.
Okay.
So yeah, mainly lower extremity, knees and hips, and then Dr. Gay is doing upper extremity, shoulders and elbow, and some hand. There are two other physicians orthopedic surgeons at that hospital. One's a joint surgeon, kind of like myself. He does hips and knees, and then there's a sports medicine doc there.
I think we did have him on.
That's Dr. Campbell, and then Dr. Palmer's the other orthopedic surgeon, joint arthroplasty surgeon that does the joint replacements.
So I'm just I'm like envisioning you guys doing like Frankenstein and like putting like whole body parts together,
Yeah, it's not quite like that, but
that's cool.
It's still cool.
Just not because I think it could actually happen, but could Frankenstein like ever really happen?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I can't never say never.
Okay, there we go. I love it. So like talk about your in your 20s, and you might need to come for you for a knee thing. What would that be? What kind of injury would that result would make me have to call you?
So a patient in their 20s that they got hurt. Lots of times, those are the patients that have got out of college, are super active and playing sports still. Maybe they're playing pickleball or basketball, tennis, that injures their knee. It could be anywhere from just a knee strain to an ACL tear to a meniscus tear. If you've tried conservative treatment, which is like the RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation, maybe some anti-inflammatories if they don't cause you any problems, and it's not getting better, then you need to get it evaluated. And we're happy to see you, and hopefully it's just conservative treatment and get back out on the court.
So let's take another person who may be in their 50s, and maybe they're a little overweight. They have knee problems, or it's a hereditary issue. Is that something you can fix?
Yes, we can. There's a lot we can do for those patients. A lot of counseling. I always talk to my patients. If you're talking about a patient that's overweight, we talk about weight loss. Every pound on your abdomen is 6 pounds of weight across your knee.
Oh, wow.
So like if you lose 1 pound, it takes 6 pounds off your knee. It's a big difference. I have patients that have lost 50 pounds and their knee pain went away.
That's incredible.
So, also in your 50s, it's surprising when I moved here to Palm Coast. So I did my fellowship in New York at the Saul Scott Kelly Fellowship. It was all knees and hips, anywhere from ACL tears to partial knee replacements to total knee replacements to revision knees. And when I moved here, I started seeing a lot of patients in their 50s and 60s, and they're still very active. I mean, you moved to Florida, you retired to Florida, and I mean, these guys were in better shape than I was. And so I don't so much look at the age per se as what the x-rays look like, what the injury and what the patient's goals are to figure out what the correct treatment plan is. It may be they have a meniscus tear and they need a knee arthroscopy to take care of the meniscus to get back out on the court. Or it may be that they need a knee replacement, but they can still get out and play pickleball again.
So when we're talking about this kind of stuff, what is the downtime and what's the surgery itself like?
So as far as knee replacement surgery goes, it's awesome. It's come a long way over the years. It's now robotically assisted. So we can actually get a CAT scan of the patient's lower extremity, and then we make a 3D virtual digital image. And we can see that 3D virtual digital image on a computer, and we can plan the surgical procedure. So we know what size implants we're using. We know what we're going to have to do to balance that knee to make sure it works perfectly. And lots of times, those patients, they can go home the same day.
Wow.
Then, they're walking, they're using assistive devices for a few weeks, and they're getting around okay. Lots of physical therapy to work on the range of motion to get them back to function. I tell my patients by 6 weeks, you're getting around okay. In 3 months, you can do what you want. But those joint replacements, they take really 6 months to a year to have their 100% recovery. It takes a while.
So talk like what goes into a hip replacement then too.
So hip replacements are a little easier to recover than knee replacements just because there's not as much motion at the hip, range of motion. But it's a very similar recovery. You get up and walk on it the day of surgery. By 6 to 12 weeks, you're getting around pretty well and doing what you want. It's a great procedure for patients with hip pain.
That's incredible. So, is there a limitation on anything after that's done? Like, you can't go out and do the splits anymore, or whatever.
Yeah. It depends on the patient. Sometimes there are, sometimes there are not. There are not as many limitations as there used to be after hip or knee replacement. The materials we're using now are better than they were in the past. So we use what's called highly cross-linked polyethylene. Basically, it doesn't wear much.
It doesn't wear out.
So, in labs, not in vitro studies like in actual humans, we don't have that data yet, but in labs and simulators, they're lasting 30 years.
Wow.
So we won't guarantee that, but think about 30 years. So now a lot of orthopedic surgeons are letting their patients do a lot more than they used to.
That's a really long time.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time you get it done, that's basically the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's the plan. Patient, you only want one surgery.
That's incredible. So is there something that you like to do the most, a particular procedure?
I really love doing knee replacements.
Do you?
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I like it for several reasons. I mean, the diagnosis, you look at an x-ray and you can be like, well, that's pretty severe knee arthritis. I like planning the surgery. That's part of the engineering background. And I like the mechanics of replacing it using the robot.
So has there ever been a really challenging case that just almost stumped you?
There are definitely some challenging cases, but I like those.
Yeah.
I like to take the time to figure out what's going on and fix them.
That's incredible. So what about little small people? Do they ever need things like this too? Or is that just, do they wait until they get older to do certain kinds of things?
So it depends. There are some medical diseases that will speed up joint degradation. And so sometimes some young patients need either a knee replacement or a hip replacement.
Really, that is possible. So is there anything that we should be doing as, just regular living our lives to kind of be preventative? Because, the focus is a lot on preventative.
Yes. And it should be focused on preventative. The main things I would say is don't gain weight. If you always feel like you need to lose 10 pounds, then lose it. Low impact exercise. If your knees aren't bothering you, feel free to run. Running on its own without pain is fine. If you're having knee pain when you're running, then you need to modify that exercise to low impact, such as biking, elliptical, swimming, something where you're not impacting the joint.
Does diet have any effect on those kinds of things, or not really?
It can. Eating a low inflammatory diet. There's a lot of information coming out on that right now.
How do you stay up to date on everything?
Just read.
To do a lot of reading.
Yeah, reading. Actually, there's some really good podcasts out there, but I try to keep up with all the literature. Not only published in medical journals, but what my patients are probably reading. Because, a lot of these patients in Palm Coast are very smart. They're educated, they're retired, they've had really successful careers. And a lot of patients come in and they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes they'll come in, and if I haven't heard of something they're talking about, I'll tell them, I'll be like, this is interesting, I'm going to have to look it up. Because, I don't know everything, that's for sure. But lots of times, we can have an educated discussion on the things that they've researched. And some patients are like, well, they're like, well, I looked on the internet, and they're like, you can't really trust the internet. But a lot of patients have really done some good homework. So that's the fun part of the job.
That's cool. Sometimes your patients are teaching you. So if people need to come or they want to come and get connected to you because they think they're going to need your services, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, there's two ways. One is you can go on the Advent Health website for orthopedics. But probably the easiest way is to call our phone number. And that phone number is 386-232-94. Wait a second. Sorry. I had it. It's brand new. I've only had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we were talking about, is he going to have surgery
9487, yeah.
All right, so say the whole thing again.
All right, 386-232-9487.
That's awesome. And if you didn't get that straight, just go to the Advent Health website and you can look for Dr. Keene. He'll be there. He's the orthopedic guy. He works on the lower half. I think that's about right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And we're glad to have you back here. And thanks, Michelle, for getting him in the door. We know you're going to be busy once you get settled in, and so this is a treat to have you before you get so busy we can't get you in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
So we want to thank WNZF News Radio, Flagler News Weekly, the Vigilante Philanthropists, Massage by Natalie and Company, and also our Benjamin Moore Paint Store here in Palm Coast for sponsoring the show. And if you guys need anything, Dr. Keene's available. So we'll see you next weekend.